I'm Jerry Hafer. I represent the Association of Mature American Citizens, AMAC, and the AMAC Foundation. And with me here in our Lady Lake, Florida office is my colleague, Sharon Klechka. And Sharon is one of our key Social Security advisors. And we're looking forward this morning to sharing our thoughts on Social Security issues that are important to women. I'll introduce Sharon in just a few minutes. But first, I'd like to give you a brief introduction to who we are and what we do. First of all, AMAC is the fastest growing senior advocacy organization in the country. We represent the interests of over 1.3 million American seniors. Our representatives are active throughout the year in Washington, making sure that our members' interests and concerns are getting the attention of their elected officials. As advocates, we fight for action in areas like Social Security and healthcare, setting our priorities based on the direction we receive from our members. One minor snafu here. There we go. Okay, and as I said, our presenters today are myself, Jerry Hafer, and Sharon Klechka, and as I mentioned, I will introduce her in a little more detail in just a couple of minutes. The AMAC Foundation is the association's nonprofit affiliate, and it was created 4.5 years ago with a clear mission of serving and educating America's seniors. In that brief period, we've covered quite a bit of ground, from staging a major healthcare symposium in Washington to the publication of a comprehensive who's who in Social Security handbook. And then we added the delivery of a variety of workshops and seminars on topics that are critical to seniors. And as a result of these activities, the Foundation's footprint is being recognized across the country, and we're really proud of what we've accomplished so far. The Foundation also operates 2 focused websites that are updated daily, 7 days a week. The first of those is the socialsecurity.report.org site that covers breaking news about Social Security and events that are happening that affect the lives of people that are on Social Security. It also contains a lot of background material on the program, the benefits, the details, the history, that sort of thing. A lot of incredible detail on Social Security available on that site. And again, it's updated 7 days a week. So it is always containing what's happening in Social Security. At the same time, we have another website titled MedicareReport.org, which performs the same function, but it's focused on Medicare and healthcare explicitly. And again, that site too is updated 7 days a week, and it contains all the breaking news about Medicare and healthcare. In addition to these services, the Foundation also operates a Social Security advisory service. And we feature 4 trained and certified advisors who stand ready to respond to questions from the public. Let's face it, Social Security is a massive program with some 2,700 separate rules and regulations governing the financial benefit that you, as a member of the country's tax-paying workforce, have earned through a lifetime of work. Social Security is complex. In fact, it's been proven that a large portion of the public is unaware of even the basics. Like, for example, how benefits are calculated, or the impact of working while you're drawing benefits, or even what benefits are available to spouses. Studies have proven that there are many, many people countrywide that just do not understand the fundamentals, and this lack of understanding is what leads them to make uninformed decisions that can harm them for the rest of their lives. So it's important, recognizing that importance, we established our Social Security Advisory Program back in 2016. And as I mentioned, we have 4 certified Social Security advisors. That program can be accessed by email to the Foundation, and the email address is ssadvisor@amacfoundation.org. or via telephone. The telephone direct number is 888-750-2622, and that will put you in contact with one of our Social Security advisors who will address your question, research it, and get back to you with a credible answer. We also, if you happen to be in the Lady Lake, Florida area, we do walk-ins. If you just want to stop in and visit with us and chat about your question, we'd be happy to see you. And a fourth way to submit questions on Social Security is via the socialsecurity.report.org website. If you see an article on there that raises a question in your mind, you can comment on that article and send us a question that way, and we will respond to that. You can visit our website, socialsecurity.report.org/services, and that'll give you a little bit more background on our advisory service, and it will also explain to you again how you access it. Talk a little bit about the growth of our service. Since we launched it in January of 2016, we've grown dramatically, as you can see from this chart. The first year, it was relatively slow. We did not publicize the service a whole lot, and we averaged roughly 25 to 30 inquiries each month throughout 2016. 2017, we began to do some advertising and some additional effort at getting the word out about the service, and you can see it began to grow. That's the blue line on the chart. And this, by the end of 2017, we were averaging about 300 inquiries a month. And now, as a result of additional publicity that we put into place, we're now running 400 to 500 inquiries per month. So the service is continuing to grow. What's most important to note in terms of our growth is that green line on the chart, and that's our 12-month moving average, and you can see that that's really trending upward rapidly. So it's become a service that a lot of people are becoming aware of and using it extensively. And we really appreciate the public's acceptance of the program. Now I'd like to introduce my colleague, Sharon Kletchko, so we can get into some of the details about today's webinar. But before I do that, I do need to cover with you a disclaimer that helps put our service and the material we're going to present in perspective, and I'll read that for your information. The material presented today is provided by the AMAC Foundation's Social Security Advisors, certified by the National Social Security Association, LLC. They do not necessarily represent the views of the Social Security Administration. The information presented today does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice and should be used for informational purposes only. Since individual circumstances vary, you should consult your legal, tax, or financial advisors before making any financial decisions. And finally, the AMAC Foundation is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Okay, now that legal disclaimer is out of the way, I would like to proceed with our webinar today. I'd like to thank you also for indulging us as we explain to you who AMAC is and who the AMAC Foundation is. The four-part seminar that we're doing, which is going to be today and the next 3 Tuesdays, is going to cover all of the basic information on Social Security, beginning with part 1 today. And we're going to cover statistics and why Social Security is important, particularly to women, just to give you a perspective on why it's important to fully understand the options available to you in Social Security. We're going to talk about why and how to establish a My Social Security account, and we'll talk you through the steps to do that. We're going to talk about how you qualify for benefits and when you should file for benefits, how benefits are calculated. We're going to get a little bit into the math of how your actual Social Security benefit is calculated. That can be a little tedious, and we're going to try to keep that at a summary level. Then we'll talk about issues like what about somebody that begins to draw benefits and decides to stay in the workforce? There are some implications that you need to be aware of. We'll cover that. And finally, we'll talk about how Social Security benefits are adjusted year to year to account for the cost of living, the increase in the cost of living. In part 2, which will be next Tuesday, we're going to get into the issue of spousal benefits. And spousal benefits is an area that's of extreme importance to just about everybody filing for Social Security, but mostly important to women. So we're going to cover that in in some detail. We're going to talk about the restricted application, which is another strategy for filing for benefits that was recently changed. So we're going to bring you up to speed on the changes that have been made there. We're going to talk about the deemed filing concept and what that means, how Social Security looks at deemed filing. We'll get into widow benefits and the effects of remarrying, and then the complicated issue of divorced spousal benefits, which is something, an area where we get a fair number of questions throughout the month on. And we'll end that session with a discussion of common law and civil unions and how they pertain to Social Security. So that'll be part 2. Part 3, 2 weeks from now, we'll get into dependent benefits, understanding the benefits that are available to your dependents, children's benefits, benefits that are available to children, and dependent benefits, dependent parents' benefits, benefits that can be available to you to take care of dependent parents. We're going to talk about Social Security disability insurance, a very complicated area. We'll be talking about that in some detail. And we'll wrap that session up with the family maximum, discussion on what the total family maximum benefit available is when you consider all the benefits that are available. So that will be part 3. And part 4, we're going to get into the extremely popular and extremely complicated windfall elimination provision and how that affects government employees, government retirees. And we'll talk about the government pension offset, which is something that affects spouses of individuals that work for the government. We're going to talk about the very popular subject of taxation of Social Security benefits. It's an area that kind of catches Social Security beneficiaries offhand, and they may not realize that their Social Security benefit, when added to your other income in retirement, can actually be taxed, and that catches a lot of people by surprise. So we're going to cover that. We're going to talk about the special lump sum death benefit, another area we get a fair number of questions about. And then for those that live outside of the continental United States, we'll be talking about how you can receive benefits abroad. And we'll close out the final session with a discussion of the intersection of Social Security and Medicare, including the hold harmless provision, which you read a lot about in the news, and something referred to as IRMA. We'll get into those details in week 4. Okay, so I'd like to introduce now my colleague, Sharon Klechka, who will cover a lot of the details for us. And let me just tell you, Sharon's background in accounting and tax preparation covers more than 20 years. She started working a few years ago for AMAC as a member services representative, and she joined us because she believes in what AMAC stands for and what we're trying to accomplish for both seniors and for America. She absolutely loves working with the public and being able to help people. Her mission in life has become helping people. And as a Social Security advisor, that is primarily what she does. She helps people navigate the complexities of a system that can just be bewildering at times. So, what I'd like to do is get into our seminar now and begin to talk about, well, we'll start out with some statistics that will help you understand why Social Security is important to women. For example, Sharon, it's my understanding that 56% of all Social Security beneficiaries from age 62 and over, I said that wrong, women are actually way more than half of all the Social Security beneficiaries age 62 and over. Do you have a comment on that?
Well, that's what the current statistics say, and also women are 66 of all beneficiaries age 85 and older, and less than half of women age 65 and older are married. Women also have typically spent more time out of the workforce and have also earned less than men.
As we get into the details of explaining how benefits are calculated, you'll see exactly how those last 2 points factor into the benefit that's calculated individually. You'll see that time spent out of the workforce does tend to drive down what's referred to as your primary insurance amount. We'll get into that later. But, once we get through the math on that, you'll see exactly what these background statistics mean. Some additional statistics we have. Average Social Security benefits for women are 25% lower than men if you take into account all the factors that go into calculating the benefit. On average, women are 25% lower in terms of their benefit than men. And some of the statistics we just covered explain why that is. It could be lower lifetime earnings, it could be less years in the workforce, whatever it might be, but the average benefit is in fact 25% lower than men. And that's why it's important to understand in a seminar like this, it's important to understand all that you need to do to maximize your benefit. For unmarried women, particularly widows, age 65 and over, Social Security represents 49% of their total income. And by the same token, for nearly half of the unmarried women Social Security beneficiaries, Social Security represents 90% or more of their total income. And those 2 points are exactly why it's important for you to do whatever you can to maximize your benefits under Social Security. And that's the purpose of this workshop, to show you how to do that. So another thing we'll do today is talk about some common Social Security terms. We think these are things that you need to have a basic understanding before we get into the details. Things like credits. Exactly what is a Social Security credit, Sharon?
A credit is the minimum amount of covered work you need to qualify for a retirement or disability benefit on your own record.
Okay.
Also, you need the quarters, and there are 4 in a year, and there is a minimum amount you must earn each year. And then you have your average index monthly earnings. Some call it AIM, some call it AMAC. And Social Security takes your prior year earnings up to age 60 and adjusts them for inflation. And we'll also be covering your primary insurance amount, which is usually equal to your full retirement age benefit, and the delayed retirement credits. The credits you earn if you wait beyond your full retirement age to increase the amount of your benefit. We'll also be covering the cost of living adjustment, known as COLA, which is based on the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, the CPIW, and your full retirement age, which, depending on the year you were born, this is when you will receive 100% of your Social Security benefit.
Okay, thanks, Sharon. We're going to go into these individual terms later in the program, but right now we just wanted to give you a feel for what we're going to cover today. So let's begin with a primer on the basics of Social Security, beginning with what can you do with a My Social Security account? One of the things that we recommend to people that contact us for help is that the first thing they need to do, if they haven't already done it, is to establish a My Social Security account. And I'll ask Sharon to cover for us exactly what that account is and what you can do with it when you have a My Social Security account established.
Well, one of the important main reasons you'd want to create it, because it gives you the opportunity to make sure your earnings are entered correctly each year. It also lets you see what your estimate for when you retire, when to retire is for 62, your full retirement age, and also age 70. And you can do things like, if you're receiving benefits, you can get your benefit verification letter, you can change your address and phone number, you can start or change your direct deposit, you can request a replacement Medicare card, you can get a replacement SSA 1099 or SSA 1042S for tax season, should you misplace yours. If you're wondering what the SSA 1042S is, it's a foreign person's U.S. source income subject to withholding. You can check the status of an application or appeal. You can get a benefit verification letter stating that you never received Social Security or supplemental Social Security income, which is SSI or even Medicare.
So it's kind of the go-to place for your individual records about your participation in Social Security. Let's talk about how you establish a My Social Security account. Pretty simple process, really.
Okay, first off, there's no fee for creating an account, but you must have an email address. If you have a smartphone, it is likely you have an email account. I mean, you would simply go to www.ssa.gov and click on My Social Security, sign in or create an account. Then you would click on create an account and check I agree to the terms of service. Click on next, enter your information as requested. You will have the option to add extra security, and you may add an extra level of Social Security to your account at this point, and it gives you the option to request an upgrade now. However, if you need immediate access, select no, maybe later. The reason you would do that is because if you select yes, they're going to send you a letter in 7 to 10 days with that access code. When you select no, maybe later, and you simply continue following the instructions until complete, you will receive a text or email, your choice, with a security code that will allow you immediate access. And in the future, every time you log in, you will receive a text or email giving you a security code.
Sharon, I understand that you don't have to be already drawing benefits to create a My Social Security account. That's correct?
Yes, you only have to be 18 years old.
Okay. And I think that that's a good idea for anybody to do at any point after age 18, so you can keep track of how accurate the posting of your earnings information is, because that becomes key later when we calculate the benefit. So I generally do encourage anyone that has not set up a My Social Security account to go ahead and do that, and then check it periodically.
Well, of course, because there is actually a 3.5-year period for you to correct your earnings, and if you go beyond that time, it's going to be a lot harder to get them corrected, and the burden of proof falls on you.
Yeah, and believe it or not, mistakes do get made. So the quicker you can flag those mistakes, the better off you're going to be down the road when it comes time to calculate your benefit. Okay, moving on then to qualifying for benefits. How does one qualify for Social Security benefits? And I'll ask Sharon to cover some of the details on that.
Okay. Well, once again, you need at least 40 credits, which is equal to 10 years of work history. Now, credits are the building blocks that Social Security uses to find out whether you have the minimum amount of covered work to qualify for retirement or disability benefits. If you stop working before you qualify, your credits will stay on your work record, and if you return to work later on, you can add more credits so that you can qualify. No benefits can be paid on your work record if you don't have enough credits. You can earn up to 4 credits per year and become qualified in only 10 years, but the longer you work, the higher your benefit will be, as it is based on your highest 35 years of earnings. You must work in Social Security covered employment for at least 10 years, and they don't have to be 40 quarters of 3 months each. To earn a quarter of coverage in 2018, you must earn at least $1,320 or a total of $5,280 for 4 quarters of coverage, and you can earn this all in 1 month. The amount required to earn a credit rises each year with growth in the average wage index.
So as noted on the chart, benefits are based on your earnings history. And again, this is another reason why it's important to have your My Social Security account established, that you can verify that as you go, because the higher your lifetime earnings are, the higher your benefit's going to be. And as we mentioned, Social Security does track your earnings, but it's important for you as the individual to verify that those earnings have been accurately recorded.
And those Social Security credits you earn also count towards your eligibility for Medicare when you reach age 65.
Good point, good point. Okay. Another question is that we get frequently is, when can you begin drawing benefits? Well, we're going to talk about this quite a bit because, believe it or not, a lot of people are not aware of exactly when they can file for benefits. And it all begins with your full retirement age, otherwise known as your normal retirement age. And that has changed recently, and the current determination for full retirement age means when you're eligible for your full benefit. And if you were born between 1943 and 1954, then your full retirement age right now is 66, age 66. From 1955 to 1959, then, the full retirement age advances from 66 and 2 months to 66 years and 10 months. And then in 1960, if you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age right now is 67. So that's an important thing to know, and we'll show you why momentarily. And incidentally, if you were born on January 1st of any year, then the calculation is based on the previous year. So if you were born July 1st, 1955, for example, then your full retirement age is 66 and not 66 years and 2 months. So I probably said that wrong, but okay, I'm trying to advance my slide here. Okay, let's talk now about early retirement. Now that we understand what full retirement age is, you can retire as early as age 62, but as Sharon will explain in a minute, that will result in a reduction in your monthly benefits. For example, if you turn 62 in 2017, then your full retirement age is 66 and 2 months. You would receive actually 25.8% less than you would be eligible for a full retirement. And conversely, you can elect to delay your retirement beyond your full retirement age all the way to age 70. And for each of those years after your full retirement age and until age 70, you would earn an additional 8% in your benefit. And as an example, as the slide shows, a $1,500 monthly benefit would increase to $1,980 if you defer it to age 70. So it's an example of how benefits can grow by deferring filing. Visually, if you look at this next chart, this is just an example of hypothetically a $1,000 benefit at age 66, at full retirement age 66. If that person filed at age 62, that benefit would reduce to $750. Conversely, if they wait until age 70 to file, that benefit would grow to $1,320 a month. So we're going to get into this just a little bit more. Let's talk next. We'll come back to this in a couple of minutes. Let's talk about the math behind calculating your monthly benefit. We do get a lot of questions in our advisory service about exactly how is that benefit calculated. A lot of people assume these numbers are just picked out of the air, but there really is a math history behind how your benefit is calculated. I'm going to ask Sharon to walk us through that. We're going to try not to get into a whole lot of detail, but it's important, I think, for anybody getting ready to file for Social Security to have a good understanding of how that number is calculated. So Sharon, why don't you walk us through that?
Well, When they're first calculating your AIM, Social Security takes each of your past year's covers earnings up through your age of 60 and adjusts or indexes them to reflect the rise in average wages each year. This keeps average benefits more closely aligned with average real wage levels and avoids harming people who earn more money earlier in their careers. Now, calculating your AIM is a four-step process. First, they're going to adjust your earnings from prior years to today's dollars. Then they're going to use your highest 35 years earnings. If you don't have 35 years, they're going to add zeros, and that will reduce your benefit. They will then take the total of those 35 years, excluding any earnings for each year that were in excess of the maximum subject to Social Security tax, and then they'll divide it by 420. That's the number of months in 35 years, and that's how they determine your AIM.
One thing to add to that conversation is that see, 1 second here. Well, let's move into how the AMI, I prefer to say AMI, just a personal thing. As Sharon mentioned, some people say AIM, I say AMI. But it's average index monthly earnings. That is the basis for establishing your primary insurance amount, which is your benefit at full retirement age. And that's referred to by the acronym PIA. PIA is broken into 3 segments, and technically they're called bend points by Social Security. Bend point number 1 basically says that for the first $895 of your average index monthly earnings, you get credit in your benefit for 90% of that amount. Bend point 2, the next stage of the calculation is that between $895 and $5,397 of your AMI, you get credit for 32%. And then finally, bend point 3, your AMI in excess of $5,397, you get credit for 15%. And here's a quick look at the actual math in play. Assume somebody has an average index monthly earnings of $6,000. The calculation would go like this. The first $895, they would be credited with 90% of that, or $805.50. The amount between $885 and $4,502, the credit would be 32% of that amount, or $1,440.64. And then the final bend point, the difference between $6,000 minus $5,397, or $603, they would get 15% of that credit. And that would add $90.45 to their benefit. So the total benefit becomes $805.50 plus $1,440.64 plus $90.45, or a total primary insurance amount or base benefit, however you want to look at it, as $2,336.50. If your AMI does not exceed $5,397, of course, then there's no third bend point calculation. But if you look at this chart, this will show you how Social Security is progressive in the sense of being weighted towards lower income earners, because the 90% factor applies to the lowest average piece of the average index monthly earnings, while the higher level, the credit is reduced to 15%. So you can see in this example, the way that the Social Security benefit calculations are weighted. That's a quick, and we don't really want to get into a whole lot of heavy math, but that's a quick look-see at how your benefit is actually calculated.
Yes, we're not trying to confuse you, and you don't have to do this calculation yourself. Social Security does do it for you. This is simply to help you understand how your benefit is calculated when getting ready to retire, so that if you have any zeros in your 35 years, you might want to consider working longer in order to fill them in. Higher current earnings will replace zeros or lower earnings in your work history, and the end result will raise your PIA.
Okay, good.
And these bend points are always determined by the year you turn 62.
And they are, incidentally, the bend points are adjusted annually. So these are the ones we use an example are the 2018 bend points in the calculation, and they will change again in 2019. So that's a quick look-see at how your average index monthly earnings are calculated and how that leads to your primary insurance amount or your base Social Security benefit. Let's shift gears for a little bit and talk about situations where people will file for benefits and continue to work. A lot of people, statistically, close to half of the people aging into Social Security eligibility file for benefits at age 62, or certainly before their full retirement age, but they continue to work. And those that do that sometimes get caught off guard by the fact that there are limitations on how much they can earn and get a full benefit once they begin drawing benefits. So I'm going to ask Sharon to step us through what those limitations are and how they're factored.
Okay, if you go to work before you reach your full retirement age, the limits for 2018 is you can earn up to $17,040 without affecting the amount of your benefits. If you should earn over $17,040, your benefits will be reduced $1 for every $2 in the year you reach your full retirement age, and through the month before your birthday, the reduction will be $1 for every $3 of earnings up to $45,000 of earnings over $45,360. If some of your retirement benefits are withheld because of your earnings, your monthly benefit will increase starting at your full retirement age to take into account for those months in which benefits were withheld. And what I mean by that is when you reach your full retirement age, if you lost a certain amount of months of benefits or going over the earnings limit, they will take those months, re-add them to your retirement age as if you actually retired later and recalculate your benefit. And these earnings are adjusted, earning limits are adjusted each year by Social Security. For example, last year's limit was $44,888, and these are affected by the cost of living increases.
It does end up being kind of a surprise to people that haven't done their homework up front, that when they begin to work, they have to deal with this. And a lot of people look at it as a penalty, but it really isn't a penalty in the sense that you do get your benefit recalculated later. So unfortunately, a lot of people tend to consider it a penalty, but it really is just you're deferring part of your benefit to later in life. But it is a complicated area for a lot of people, so we want to make sure that you do understand that limitation. Social Security benefits are subject to cost of living adjustments. I'm sure you've read a lot about that in the press. I'm going to ask Sharon to give us a little bit of the history of COLA adjustments, cost of living adjustments, and how they were originally determined and how they progressed through the years.
Well, beginning in 1975, the cost of living adjustment became automatic. You no longer had to wait for Congress to pass the cost of living increase. And they have been based on the annual increase in the consumer price index measured by the urban and wage earners and clerical workers, the CPIW. This is an important aspect of Social Security as the benefit amounts paid are adjusted for inflation. In the past, you could usually anticipate that your monthly Social Security check would rise gradually to keep up with the cost of living to help sustain the purchasing power of your benefits. Usually inflation is positive and recipients will receive a benefit increase, and Social Security will never adjust benefits downward. So if the formula produces a negative result, you simply do not receive an increase that year. In recent years, unfortunately, COLA increases have been small or non-existent, especially with the increasing cost of Medicare, and it is more important now than ever to make sure you are receiving your maximum Social Security benefits.
And if you look at the chart that appears on that, or the graph that appears in that chart, you can see that the high year of 14.3% was back in 1980. And since then, it's been substantially lower. In fact, there were 3 occurrences of 0 adjustments beginning in 2010, 11, and 16. So there were no adjustments that year. Last year was a 2% adjustment. And we don't know, we won't know until the fall what the projected 2019 cost of living adjustment will be. So that's just a quick look at how Social Security benefits are adjusted to keep up with inflation. Shift gears again, I want to talk about the kind of benefits you may be eligible to receive. There are many different kinds of benefits that are available to Social Security recipients, and we're going to cover these in detail in the later sessions, the later weeks of the program. But we just want to give you an understanding of, most people think of Social Security as retirement period. But there are several different kinds of benefits that are available to people to apply for. And I'd like Sharon to just run us through those real quickly, beginning with retirement benefits.
Well, there's your retirement benefit, that's based on your own work record. Spousal benefits, which is based on your spouse's record. Same with divorced spouse and surviving divorced spouse, and widow benefits. Now there's children and child in care, based on either earner's benefit, and your parental benefits. Now parental benefits are available to your parents if you supported them and should happen to pass away. Disability for someone that can no longer work is also based on your own work record. And being eligible for more than one benefit does not mean you can receive 2 benefits at one time. If you're eligible and apply for benefits on more than one work record, you will only receive the highest benefit. You may not be eligible on your own retirement benefit, but you may also be eligible for an additional, You may not only be eligible on your own retirement benefit, but you may also be eligible for an additional spousal benefit. Women that have never worked are often covered by their spouse's earnings. So when their spouse retires, becomes disabled, or dies, they can receive Social Security benefits on their own record. Divorced spouses that meet the length of marriage requirements are also covered by their ex-spouse, even if their ex-spouse has remarried. And based on your household factors, multiple types of benefits can work together to get you more in cumulative benefits.
And just to reiterate a point that Sharon made earlier, we do get a lot of questions about spousal benefits, and frequently there's a bit of a misunderstanding that someone that has filed for Social Security benefits on their own record and then circles back to take advantage of their spouse's higher earnings record to get an increase in benefits. Sometimes it's not understood that you're not getting both benefits. You really get one or the other, and you get the higher of the two, really. It's not a cumulative thing. You don't take your benefit and add it to the spousal eligibility and basically double your benefit. So kind of a misunderstood area, and we get a lot of questions about it. So those are just the kind of benefits that are available to Social Security recipients, and we're going to cover those. Actually, beginning next week, we're going to cover spousal benefits in a lot greater detail. So The next chart is basically just a summary of the kind of benefits that Social Security recipients are eligible to receive. And the chart basically just shows the kinds of benefits that we just talked about and some of the details about how they are basically available. We'll be talking more about these next week, as I said. So I would encourage you to take a look at that between now and next week, and we'll circle back and hit those in greater detail then. Okay, that basically concludes part one of our Women in Social Security workshop. If you have any questions about the material, we'll stay on here for a couple of minutes. I'll open the chat room if you want to key in a question and ask us while we're here. Between now and the rest of the time that we have, about 15 minutes or so, we'd be happy to respond to your questions. If you have any questions afterwards, feel free to contact our Social Security advisory staff, and you can do that with email, and the email address is ssadvisor@amacfoundation.org, and the telephone number is 888-750-2622. If you do a call-in number, you'll likely get access to Sharon, and Sharon is an absolute delight to work with, and she loves working with people, and would be happy to respond to your questions. Regarding our next session, next Tuesday, here's another relook at what we're going to cover. We're going to cover spousal benefits in detail. We're going to talk about the restricted application process and the changes that took place in the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015 that severely limited the restricted application process and basically wiped out what used to be called file and suspend. We'll bring you up to speed on that. We're going to cover this concept of deemed filing and what that means to the benefit selections available to you. We're going to get into the details of widow benefits and what happens to widow benefits if you remarry. We're going to talk in detail about that. And same thing with divorced spousal benefits. That becomes a really big issue in terms of what benefits somebody filing for Social Security who is a divorcee is eligible for. And we get a lot of questions about that particular topic. And we'll close out session 2 with discussion on common law and civil unions and how Social Security recognizes those, the variations in state level recognition, how it affects moving from state to state. So that's what we're going to cover next Tuesday, same time, same place. And I'm going to open up the chat room now. And if any of you have any questions, go ahead and key them in. And you should see this on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And at the very bottom, there is a space to type your message. So we'll just kind of hang out here for a little while. And any questions that you have, just fire away. And we'll take them from there.
Now, just to make you attendees aware, now next week, part 2 is going to be a very informative part of the seminar to help women make sure they know of all the options available to them before they make their final filing decision, because there might be something out there that will help you maximize your benefits.
It is really important to fully understand the options, because some of the decisions that you make when you file can be irrevocable. So it's important that you make them, having all of the knowledge available to you. It can help you out in the long run.
Yes, it's a decision that will affect the rest of your life, and it's one of the most important decisions you're going to make.
And it's really one of the reasons why we established our Social Security Advisory Service, because there really are not many places someone can go with these kind of questions and get a researched and credible answer. And that's what we do, and that's what we're trained to do. And so any detailed questions you have, we'd love to have them. So as I said, we're just going to hang around here for about 10 or 15 minutes and take any questions that you have. Oh, yes, one of the questions that was submitted, and I'll respond to that right now, is the Social Security Advisory Service that we provide is absolutely free of charge. It's open to the public. There's no fee for that. You don't need to be an AMAC member. And all you need to do is contact us and we will respond to your inquiry completely free. That was a very good question. I appreciate that. I should have covered that earlier. Okay, any other questions? Another question, again, along the same line, since the service is free, the obvious question then is how is the foundation funded? And I appreciate that question. The AMAC Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization. We take no government funding and we are funded totally by contributions from the public. And anyone interested in making a contribution to the foundation can do so by going to our website, www.amacfoundation.org, and on the very first landing page that you get to, you'll see a big box that says donate. And that is how we operate. We receive donations from the public and that defrays our expenses. We have 4 Social Security advisors on staff, as I mentioned, and based on the volume that we've been seeing most recently, we are right now trying to find recruiting, I should say, for additional advisors to increase the bench strength on that service. We do get hit with some peak periods that we try to get back to every inquiry the same day that we get it, but sometimes if we get overwhelmed, it might take a day or two. So we are recruiting for more advisors at this point. But thank you for that question. That was a great question. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions coming in, so I think we're going to end our broadcast for this morning. And as I said in the last slide, we'll see you on part 2, which is next Tuesday, June 26th. Same time, same place. We at 10 o'clock on June 26th. Thank you very much.